Hey everybody, Asher here, back with more Kerbal Space Program, where it is nighttime, it is dark, and it's been a while, let's be honest here. Today's episode is titled, or probably will be titled unless something else comes up, Derelict Space Program, because, well, we've kind of left things to drift for just a little bit, so this episode is going to be a little bit about where we've been and a little bit about where we're going. If we look at the research tree, we've pretty much got this one nailed down for most of what we need. There's a few items left to get, such as advanced unmanned tech, automation, large probes potentially, but because this is not a playthrough that has a lot of add-ons in terms of tech, not too much to say there, so we may be going to that eventually. My goal still is to go to every sort of orbital body, and as you may know, we've gone to a few of the more standard ones and have not necessarily had the success that we've hoped for. We'll look at mission control in just a minute. I think probably one of the better ways to get this started is to go to the tracking station and just go through what we have. So here we are, ye old tracking station, where we currently have a bunch of multiple flights going on at the same time, and you may just like to know that if I zoom down here, I did actually finally install some cloud mods. They're not as the ones that I necessarily like as much as what I used to have, but it works for now. We do have a few missions going out here, such as our Sky Base, Sky Lab, pretty much. Still there, still doing something. I mean, it doesn't really give us any valuable science anymore. We do have a Mooner base, which still has two people on it, Kimberta and Samty. Wow, how did I mispronounce that so hard? These are people that I could potentially rescue and bring back as crew, and that may be a very good idea. So that's one thing that we can do to clean up. We also have the Duna landing station, which, as we all know now, is completely abandoned, which is great because that's the one that tipped over. We have the Ike landing station, which should now also be abandoned. That was sort of the focus of my most recent video, is extracting the people off of Duna and Ike. And we'll get back to, well, pretty much we have. And I don't know, I thought I'd save somewhere different, but at least from where I've been playing here, maybe I did stop without actually docking the refueler, which raised up from here, and the rescuer, which is just an orbit. So should be able to make this work okay. We'll visit the refueler before long because it actually has a ton of ore and not a lot of fuel, but we still might be able to get some use out of some of the contracts for it. We do have LV Kerbin, who is currently on EVA permanently at Eve, and that's probably the only successful mission that I've had. Let's see here. We had a probe that was supposed to try and go into some kind of polar orbit, and it failed miserably. We have the Elu Traveler, which is still on course to actually intersect with Elu in about 2 years. So we got some missions that we're going to be able to run between then and now. But still, never been to Elu. This is a probe that may land or may totally fail. So good things to think about here. What else do we have? Yeah, the Eve Tin Can, which is where Alvi is currently stationed. Sammy, which I did have to do a... let me put it this way. In the original video that I had that I guess is canon, she crashed, burned, and died, but unfortunately, due to saving issues, I did try and redo the landing here and actually succeeded. So Sammy, still stranded on top of the moon up here, she can be rescued and brought back. Remember, that was one of my favorite recordings that I've done for the series, of her kind of going crazy, doing a lot of stuff with flights that I've honestly never done before. Yeah. No, I didn't get as great reception from because you're like, you don't know what you're doing. It's like, I know, that's part of the fun, and we're going to be doing a little bit more of stuff that I don't know what I'm doing. Speaking of bad things here, we have the Joule drone station, which is now on an escape velocity out of Joule. Should actually be on a completely, yeah, it's right under the planets, and that's another maneuver node just for other stuff here. Gilly Hopper, which is, the game keeps saying it's on an escape velocity, or escape trajectory from Eve. I have a feeling that if Gilly comes at just the right time, then yeah, the gravity will be enough to get this out, which means Dunfred and Albella could be in some serious trouble. We also have the Eve Brain, which is also out of fuel right now. So we have 4 Kerbals, potentially 5, that are just floating around Eve. It was kind of the B squad that got stuck. I do like how the Eve clouds looked for this, but some of the other clouds have a little bit more to be desired. Yeah, I also don't have Kerbal Alarm Clock put back on here. For some reason, it didn't quite go in with some of the other updates I had, so I need to fix that. I don't want to miss the ELU window or anything. Camford Shipwreck has been there for about 2 years, and that contract expires in about 2 years. Good thing he brought snacks. All we gotta do is get up in orbit, get him. I think we might even be able to do that today. So let's go ahead. So I've had some people ask before, what are these red lines and everything that's all around here? Let's talk about it. Alright, so you may notice that I only have one contract available. I have 13 contracts active, and I feel like that's stifled me a little bit in terms of what I want to play, what I want to do, because there's not too many contracts that are here. Now, a few of them, like Explore Gilly, Explore Jewel, those are there. Notice that all we have left to do is to achieve an orbit around Jewel, which we have not done yet. Gilly, we wanted to land on it, and that failed miserably. But I think I have a better estimation for just how difficult getting to Gilly is, and how much more fuel I'm going to need just to slow down, because it's pretty much all you when it has no gravity. This is still an interesting mission that I do want to do here. Ferry 5 tours to their destinations and back, which includes flights to Eve, flights to Ike, flights to the Sun. It takes some pretty significant maneuver node playing around with, and I only get a little bit of reputation for it, but its deadline's 22 years. We got plenty of time. Let's see. There are some contracts that I do want to ditch, though. Not the asteroid ones. It doesn't give us a lot of prestige or anything, and you notice that I'm going away from research and more towards prestige now. But I do want to get some practice getting asteroids in here. There's a Class A asteroid mission and a Class C asteroid. One in orbit around Kerbin, which you saw is that could be a little bit difficult. Class A asteroids are very small, and it wants it to be an elliptical orbit. Why? For science, as we well know. I have actually only 4 years to do that. Could be a little bit of an issue. 10 years to do this one. Class C, a little bit tougher, putting it in orbit around the moon, and then stability for 10 seconds. Doable. Camphor Kerbin, we're going to get you, finally. Accepted year 2, we're in year 4 now. Oops. Extract ore from Ike and deliver it to Duna. I can actually complete this. I think I talked about this in the last video as well. I'd still have the refuel drone thing, which I don't... The one issue that I could face is that since I don't have to do a landing on Duna, I guess is the way I put it, that as long as I get into Ike and put it in orbit around Duna, that's fine. I was thinking before I had to land on Duna, which I don't have parachutes, which is very exciting. Gravimetric surveys of Duna is just not going to work out. So we're going to go ahead and cancel this contract. I'm going to lose a little bit of this stuff up here, but so be it. I want to be able to get some other missions to cycle in here too. So let's see. We don't want too many of these. Camphor, we're going to do Class C asteroid. Supreme 4 Eve journey, fly by Minmus, fly by the moon, fly by Eve, all in one thing. Well, we can do that with a that's actually pretty easy to do. We'll probably do that with our rescue mission here. So satellite in orbit of Eve, this is a failure. Synchronous orbit of Duna, some of you have been wondering about these missions for a while. These are also failures, so we're gonna have to pay some penalties and lose some rep. And orbital station around Joel, we're gonna stick with that one. Explore Gilly, we're gonna stick with that one. Explore Joel is gonna actually be one of our next things that we try and do. Is I know I've done a kind of Joel visits start prep in a previous series, and yeah, we're gonna get back to that again. So I think we do have some interesting missions to try and do, and then hopefully a lot of my 3-star missions are kind of filled in right now, and a few updates on. I'm not sure what other missions they've added. Another kind of 2 things to look at for Kerbal Space Program. kind of my direction. Oh, we actually have an orbit ghillie mission. Haha. Yeah. You know what? Let's accept that. Because we're going to be trying to go to ghillie at some point anyway. But yeah, pretty much there's going to be kind of two facets for Kerbal Space Program in the future. One is continuing to try and update and go on the save for as long as it feels interesting. At least, like I said, trying to land on all the bodies, go to all of them. Or if it just feels kind of stale after a while, we can always jump to some mods, because there's some very good community mods for getting things out there. The other side of it is challenges. There's some good ones listed there. I'm not nearly as skilled as some other players, but that's part of the fun, to try and stretch yourself. So, what are we going to do first, just kind of on our shopping list? I think we need to get Camford in here. And one of the main reasons is if we go right here, I mean, how many people do we have available? Bill, Bob, Valentina, and Ronnie. I guess I did actually finish the rescue, maybe? I mean, who's assigned then? Okay, Bill, Bob, Valentina, and Kerman. Oh, that's right, okay. Jebediah was on Ike, and then we sent these other people over here. So we do have some of our orange suits available. And we do have some tourists available, and we can always hire some new crew, but even though we have plenty of money, hiring crew, unless you really need something, is a little bit prohibitive. Although I do actually need some engineers, I feel like. Especially since we've lost, for whatever reason, some engineers. So you know what? Let's hire an engineer. I think we need Detrice, maybe, or Hilltreese. There's a lot of trees here. Alright. So, like I said, engineers, good at least because they're able to do a few things here. And for some reason we have 0 Kerbals missing. That works. So, who do we want to fly to? Let's see here. Now we have Kerbin Apoapsis, Periapsis, rocket supplies. That must be for a proposed mission. Alright, you know what we're going to do? We're going to actually start by docking. I know that could potentially take a little bit longer, but I do want to make sure that I have these ships together, and then once the transfer window goes for Duna, which Kerbal Alarm Clock's really helpful for that. I think we still got a little bit of time before it comes up here. In fact, I think this is kind of the launch window from Kerbin to Duna, but I'd have to check. And here, we got 2 ships here. We got the Rescuer 2 and we got the Refueler. Looks like we're probably going to be doing the Refueler, so let's hop there. Okay, I do not know if you all got to hear the sounds that I heard of all the parachutes just going buck wild crazy on this. That's where possibly doing some orbital maintenance on the ship, getting an engineer with experience up there in orbit to try and make this work would be good. But if you look at our cargo hold, we have a ton of ore, which is great, and we actually have some contract canceled notifications, so cool. We lost some prestige there, but not a ton. Alright, what's the first thing to do here? We have plenty of electric charge. I feel like we need to just go ahead and start making fuel. We're pretty good on monopropellant. Probably don't need to make more of that right now. And I wonder what the conservation of mass is going to do with this. So if we just go in orbit just a little bit here. So there's not going to be too much to do. This is gonna take some power. We don't have the highest orbit ever. So that could be something worth fixing here. In fact, my orbit actually is an orbit, right? I'm not suborbital. Okay, I am orbiting. Barely. Though I know part of the goal here is just to get my periapsis pretty close to right here. So you can see I'm probably not going to be able to go much faster than this because I'm not above 100k. So we are going to have a little bit of liquid fuel just going, but that's okay. We get to watch the herky-jerkiness of me trying to record this while, and look, there's our 2 ships that actually came down here. We'll go that again on the pass. I don't remember the name of the mod that I'm using for clouds, but what I don't like about it is, and I don't know if you have any suggestions in the comments for it, is that they don't look that great from orbit. These just look like ice caps. And I think it may have been city clouds and lights, potentially, and it also irritated me a little bit, if I remember right. Maybe I did disable it. It doesn't look like it from some of the artifacts that are coming up. Is that it actually puts cities on Duna, which is like, oh look, I barely just landed there. Let's put some colonies here. So here is a 1 landing site, halfway around the world. So we're losing all of our electricity. Good thing we don't have any life support mods on right now. I guess we don't necessarily have to worry about that. Alright, so this is already shut off. And we still have some ore left. I mean, technically this is ore from Duna up in space. And because this whole thing is supposed to be reusable, the idea is that I can my goal is to be able to take the unmanned portion of this and go back to Ike and then put it in orbit one more time, which, as you all have seen or possibly experienced, let's see. Okay, we are getting some fuel here. Barely. This is still the fun ship that actually has not that many working engines because, for those of you who may or may not remember, we have, and I don't know why my right-clicking is doing this right now. Windows 10, very exciting. Anyway, we have 2 bases down there. For those of you who may not remember, may not be familiar with the mission profile, the landing station and our rescuer, which came as part of this. So we have a flag that's kind of a land ho flag. Is that actually a broken? Yeah, that is one broken landing strut. So that's one of the challenges for landing on Ike. What's the other one? Oh yeah, we only have use of, we're gonna say 3 engines. Let's go ahead and shut these down. We don't need that much propulsion now, but because we have bad fuel balance with the fuel line there, I was supposed to do 4. I didn't do my flight checks, and as a result we just got a bad fuel balance. Hopefully we're still actually making ore though, or making fuel. Looks like we are. Alright, we probably don't need too much more to actually adjust our orbit, so we'll do one more kind of solar pass and turn that off. We don't have that much ore left, but it actually doesn't take a super huge amount of delta V to get to where we're going. I mean, the idea behind this rescue mission is that if I needed to somehow get some more fuel some way, shape, or form, I could do it with this. 800 units of fuel from orbit should be enough. Keyword being should. Alright, we want to turn you off. It's already... Oh, well, that's because I'm accelerating my time. Alright, stop. Cool. Now, if this is our target, we have not done docking procedures in a while in a video. So all we're going to do is just try our best to match orbits here. One of 2 things is going to happen with this. And this is where it gets really, really exciting for Kerbal Space Program-ish people, is that we can sit here and meander with this all day. It's probably better that we do at this point, because what you want to do is to be able to match orbits, and then if we need to go around a bunch of times until we actually meet up, we're there. So let's say we do this maneuver. Our periapse is still going to be a little bit lower on this side, a little bit lower on that side, but we shouldn't have to worry too much. More important thing is to actually just get into some kind of orbit. Well, not just an orbit, but a good, solid, steady one. So hopefully this screen is not too dark. I don't really like doing these maneuvers dark side, but that's the nature of the business right now. Alright. It takes way more energy just to get out of the grips of the planet's gravity than really a lot of other stuff. And we have Cat. See, other fun part of everything is like, oh, the cat's like, hey, you're still awake and you're talking. And he's just gonna claw into my leg because that's what they do. Alright, let's fix this node just a little bit. Now the fun part is that we haven't burned anything here, so 26-second burn should be alright. And which engines do we have on right now? We have these two are down, one cat talking, autosave actually causing some lag, which is very exciting. Let's F5 here. Just because I've still had some stability issues and I really don't want to play with that today. I mean, you all have seen that I'm very accepting of failure when it comes my way in this game. But if there's a crash or something, I at least want to have a quick save that I can turn to. That's kind of the rule. All right. So let's see, we have probably enough. So 26 seconds. We still got plenty of ore if we need to do some more of this too. So what we're going to do, same as before, for those of you who may not be as familiar with this procedure, is just to try and burn evenly on both sides of the maneuver node. You'll see this orbit go up. We're not trying to go for anything super specific yet. And if we end up needing to do this without the pool engine right now, looks like it's going to be fine. Alright, that's probably... do just a little more. Alright, get that back activated. And we're going to try and stay on the node as best we can. The idea here is that we match velocities eventually. Alright, so that maneuver node's gone. Those of you who are wondering why I don't have these little nodes available, it's because you don't have patch conics activated or something similar. Oh good, so we have some nice new graphical effects from more recent patches, or the game's just really freaking out at me. Pretty sure that's just new graphical effects. They did adjust the heat a little bit, so all we're going to do here is just an orbit, and we could use this time to really accelerate our ore production right now. All we want to do here is to let this get a little bit closer. Alright. Like, see, the issue that we have is where are we? We have to do a lot of circles, aren't we? Alright, just for sanity's sake, it may be better if I just put myself out. Just a tiny bit. Like, let's do an apoapsis of 80,000. That should be enough to make good. Because otherwise we're going to be sitting here all day. And if we look at our target relative velocities right now, 1,000 is way too much. So yay, round and round we go. This is, like I said before, this is what I guess I'm calling a kind of sanity burn. Just a little bit. The other option is just to let these things pass around each other by watching it from the surface, which may not be a bad idea. Alright. So if we burn from here... No, we don't have to do that. We're not going to do that today. If our target velocity, like, starts dipping really low here... Okay, we're not that close right now. But we're not super far. This is hardly perfect. But we're just going to go ahead and end this on a positive note at least. We're going to zero out with our other ship that's a little further away. I don't want to sit here and dilly-day with this too much. But if we just look out here, we're currently spinning around and around. Things are running a lot better, I guess, because the other render I was doing is done. All we're going to do is zero out. And see, look at this. We have actually, we gotta get some fuel anyway. So it's as good of a time as any just to stop this right here. But all we're going to do is essentially, we're going to be 100-some kilometers away. So this is, I said, sloppy orbital mechanics. But we will actually have an intersect, which is beautiful here. Not a great one. Let's see if I can actually... Okay. Just going a little forward on the RCS to see just how close we can get this. About 7.3, that's okay. The bigger issue is that I'm going to have to push hard to match orbits when I get there, but we'll save that for another episode. This is Asher. Kerbal Space Program, we're going to be cleaning up some as we go. We're going to save people in orbit, we're going to move some asteroids around, but first things first, we're going to put these two ships together and see if we can get them home, which means I need to install a Kerbal alarm clock. Hopefully I'm not using all of my fuel just to actually get into orbit here, because if we look around at the other ship, I actually got to double check and see how much fuel do they have. Hello, Jeb and Chad Hat. How much fuel do you have? Some. Actually, quite a bit. So it's the fuel situation's not that dire. And do they actually... They don't have ore. But still, good things to think about. This is Asher. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time with more Kerbal Space Program. Let's see if we can clean this mess up. Take care.